enough. Excellent. To navigate the overcoming uniqueness of growth and healing. You are enough. There is power in you. You are enough. Are you ready to use the power that's inside of you? You are enough. Today you know you was always enough. Yes. We had a moment when we didn't have the confidence to be as bold and secure that we are now. You are enough. Yes, we had moments when we settled for that relationship that we weren't supposed to be in because it was toxic or not. Hello. Thank you for tuning in to The Power in Your Voice. I am your host, Dr. Sheena Gadine, and we are here today to motivate, inspire, and educate. Today, we have Miss Judy Jackson in the building. How are we doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Judy Jackson Winston. I don't know, I got my name wrong here.
Yeah, it didn't have the other part on it. So we're going to correct that. Judy Jackson Winston.
Also known as JJ Winston, which is when I'm talking about my books, I prefer to use JJ Winston. So
absolutely. So can you tell the people who you are, where you're tuning in from?
I am an award-winning author. I have 3 novels. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we go along. And I am hailing from the beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, on the wonderful, beautiful shores of Lake Erie.
Amazing. So, question for you. You know, a lot of times some people said, they didn't know they was going to become an author. Others was like, oh, yeah, I wanted to do it all my life. How did your author journey begin?
I love to read. And so I learned how to read when I was 3 years old. And I've read so many books. And, when I said I can do that, I got a whole lot to say. And so I wrote this short story, my first novel, The Anniversary. It was a short story. And I gave it to a professional writer who read it and critiqued it for me. And she told me that she loved it and she thought that I should develop it into a novel. And that's what I did. And it really was more like therapy for me. And just a way to kind of escape my day, because I had a very difficult job and I still do in my day job. So I was the client rights officer for the Cuyahoga County Adams Board, which stands for Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board. And I really wanted to use my writing as a vehicle to basically raise awareness about mental health and really help break down stigma. So I thought that would be a good way to do it by writing a fiction novel, because I think that it's such a heavy subject that when people are entertained, they can also be educated.
Absolutely. So when you wrote this book, how you said writing is therapy. What do you feel that was your most challenging, and what do you feel you learned about yourself?
I really wanted to write a novel that didn't villainize people who have behavioral health problems. That's where the stigma comes in. So I really wanted to write a book that humanized my characters and made them basically see yourself in them. Any one of us can have an issue. And I really wanted to write something that really raised awareness about how trauma can really impact our lives. And it can really still affect us throughout our life if we don't deal with it. And I think that I learned something about myself. I think I always knew that I never quit. It took me years to write each one of these novels, and it is very difficult. But once I say I'm going to do something, I just can't stop. So I was like, it's got to get done.
Absolutely. So you would say that, it gave you discipline. Yes, to make sure that it got out, it got told, and it, it's out there helping the people that it needs to help. Because you're absolutely right. A lot of times we sweep mental health under the rug, or we treat them different. And then 2, with trauma, we don't deal with it. So then it starts coming out and we start bleeding on people.
Absolutely. And what people don't sometimes realize is that trauma basically can develop into a mental health condition if untreated. So what we need to do is try to address our trauma. And when we say that, we don't mean that you always have to go and get a mental health professional.
Right.
You could talk to your friends, you could talk to your church. There are different people that you can have an outlet with where you can feel safe to be able to talk about the things that are affecting you or bothering you. It's very important. It's human. And I think that I just want to tell people that I feel that I can basically deliver this message due to my educational background. So I do have a bachelor's degree in social work, a master's degree in social work, and I'm a licensed independent social worker with supervisory designation in my state, which is Ohio. And I'm also an attorney. So, I really wanted to take the education that I have to really raise awareness.
And I commend you for that, because some people don't step up to the plate, or it's more of a, well, they don't get no help, that's just them.
Yes, so we really need to be encouraging people.
Absolutely.
And I really wanted to, it was important that I made my characters African American, being an African American person myself. There is lots of stigma sometimes in our community about mental health, and we say things to each other and we don't mean to be hurtful. Actually, we think we're being helpful when we say things like, we survived slavery. Right. And things like that. And it just basically, it's a lot of stigma. We're supposed to be strong. That's what we're taught. We've survived so much, so you should be strong. And it's really strength to go and say, hey, I need to go and talk to somebody. I need I need to have an outlet. I need to, talk about things that may have happened that are impacting my day now from my past.
Absolutely. And, also in our community, a lot of times it used to be go to the church, pray.
Absolutely.
That was the other thing that they would tell you to go do.
Right. And I'm not going to say you shouldn't pray, because prayer helps. But I want to say this, that people, the church has evolved. The church has evolved to basically understand that this is real. And a lot of church ministries have a mental health ministry attached to the church. So you should always go and seek that out, but not be afraid and not have any stigma about just saying, hey, I want to go and talk to somebody, because that's what we do. And I just want, really to encourage people and use my novels to say, hey, we all, can help each other. We all, basically are the same. We got the same issues, just we look different and we got socioeconomic differences sometimes, but pretty much everybody's trying to do the same thing, and that's basically survive.
Absolutely. So the first book we talked about, let's talk about, because you said you have 3. So what was your second book, and what made you decide to write the second one?
The books is a series.
Okay.
So you're following my fictional characters, Juliet and Granville Stubbs. And basically my main character, Granville Stubbs, he basically learned some disturbing news from his past. And it basically is a precursor to him having a breakdown. And all the things that happens because of it. And, and I think that what I really wanted to talk about too, is like all of us have people in our family, people we love, that sometimes do things we just can't even imagine that they would do. And so I really wanted to discuss basically love, because my book is a love story. It's women's fiction, but it's a love story. If you love somebody and you find out something about them that happened to them when they were a child, or something about them that they never disclosed to you, would you stay with that person? And what I want people to understand is that there is no wrong or right answer. It depends on who you are and what you believe. So when you're with people, they need to have the same belief system that you do in order for the relationship to work. So I would ask people different questions while I was writing the book. I would go around and poll people and get their opinions. And some people would say, if they found out something really bad about, that happened to their spouse, like their spouse didn't do anything wrong, they actually were a victim.
Right.
Some people told me they would love their spouse more. And other people told me they would completely be out because they lied to them.
You know, it is, you know, it's with that part, but that's the thing. Maybe they weren't comfortable and ready to feel that they were safe yet. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with trauma, you got to feel safe and trusting enough to be ready to share stuff.
And I totally agree with you. And but what I'm saying is it depends. If I'm somebody that believes you need to tell me everything about yourself.
Right.
And if you omit anything, then that makes you a liar. Then I need to find somebody who also has that belief system.
Yeah, that's where the conversation comes in at, and you ask these questions when y'all first start getting together. And see, that's the thing. A lot of people forget about the courtship and the dating and getting to know the people, and it's like it's just they
when I was
forgot about that part.
I have like some great aunts. They passed away, of course, but now, you know. But when I was young, they were like my grandmothers because my grandmother died when my mother was a child. And my people are from the South, just like in Cleveland, a lot of people are from Alabama. So my folks are, you know, come from Alabama. And they would always say things like this to me. They go like, if you meet a gentleman and they go, do you know his people, honey?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they would say certain things, you know, are you evenly yoked? And then, you know, the young people be like, what are you talking about? And basically what that means, do you have the same belief system, the same mindset? Because that's where we go wrong. Opposites do attract. But if you believe opposite things, then it's never going to work. You have to have some of the same belief systems or you're always going to have conflict.
Right.
So
that is absolutely true.
I work in divorce court. Can you tell?
I work in
family court.
Yes.
And this is what, you know, I have to deal with a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure, especially, you know, when people started it off, you know, the honeymoon stage. And then, you know, later on, it's like they finally decide to get to know each other and y'all are totally different. So.
And then, you know, we also have to acknowledge that we should all be evolving. If you're the same person you were, you know, 25 years ago, shame on you. You're doing something wrong.
Absolutely. Okay. Right. You definitely doing something wrong. Right.
And sometimes when we evolve and grow, who we were changes and what we like changes. And sometimes it just doesn't work anymore.
Correct.
But basically, you know, my stories they're a love story and it follows this family as they deal with life like we all do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how you navigate that. And when we're dealing with mental health, you know, like you said, there are people who don't want to tell you what's happening. When I worked at the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board, I would often get calls from professionals, lawyers, doctors, accountants, whispering on my phone, afraid. They need help. But if their colleagues find out, then they may lose their employment because people would equate what's happening with their mental health with their intelligence. And that's where I got all these different ideas. And what I wanted to do was just basically create work that would be able to be discussed in book clubs and give people rich discussion. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's what you believe.
Right.
If I don't believe what you believe, I don't mean you're wrong, but it don't mean I'm wrong either.
True.
Absolutely. It just means that if I'm going to be with somebody, I got to find somebody who has the same belief system as me.
Your yin to your yang.
That's right. Absolutely.
You know, someone that complements your other side.
That's right.
We all need someone to help us grow, and we all need someone that's going to correct us when we're wrong as well.
That's right. That's what family does. That's what family does. You have fans. Everybody got fans. But fans, they just love you. They don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
The people who know you are the people who are going to say, hey, this is what's going on. And also, you know, I'm going to be candid in my work. I've seen so many people that know something's wrong with their relative. They know something's going on, and everybody just stands around and watches.
Right.
Nobody wants to say anything, and then they would call me, and sometimes they would be really angry, and I would have to put people in check and say, you know what? You have a duty to your family member.
Right.
That's your person. So, you know, what we need to do is all work together to get the person the assistance that they need. But when you see somebody struggling, it's our job to say, look, we need to help you. Because then if you don't, it could be a tragedy.
Definitely. So tell us about the third part of the book.
The third part of the book is my conclusion to my story. It just came out last year, and it is set during the pandemic. And a lot of us really struggled during the pandemic. I still have friends and family members who are still struggling with the aftermath of the pandemic. So many people developed mental health issues during that time. And I really wanted to use that as a backdrop. But I also want to say there are some secondary themes in my novel. And I do want to also speak to that. And that is sickle cell disease and human trafficking. And I included those things because sickle cell disease is personal to me. I lost my father when I was 8 years old from sickle cell. I had two paternal aunts and a paternal uncle who also passed from sickle cell. And presently, I have a daughter who lives with sickle cell disease, as well as a niece, and a great niece and a great nephew. It's very important to me, but it should be important to everybody because it is one of the most, I think it is the most common inherited disease. You know, like, you get the gene.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common in the African-American community. It is in the world, it kills like a lot of people, particularly in Africa. But if you do have a sickle cell gene, your likelihood of dying from malaria is pretty much zero. So if you live in those parts of the world, having the gene is like a really good thing. But I really wanted to talk about that and raise awareness about it because just to quickly tell you, with my daughter, when I started dating my husband, that was one of the first questions I asked is like, do you have a sickle cell gene? And he was like, no, because he doesn't, because I asked the wrong question. Gotcha. He has an abnormal hemoglobin, but when you put that hemoglobin with my sickle cell gene,
it created the sickle cell.
Yep, it's called another disease, not sickle cell anemia, but it's called hemoglobin SC. And prior to me having my daughter, I had never heard of it. And so I wanted people to know there are different forms of sickle cell. And I want people to, know if they're a carrier and then do what you can to, be educated. But my daughter's doing really well. She graduated from college. She moved out. Yay. Party over here. And then human trafficking. I included that as a theme because I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and it is really high on the list of places where people are human trafficked. And when I used to work at the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board, I did work with several human trafficking victims. And I wanted to use my work to let people know that human trafficking is not always sexual. It is slavery. It is basically, people are forced to work for nothing. You know what I'm saying? For pretty much nothing.
Right.
So I just really wanted to use my novels to really raise awareness about things and educate people. And also lastly, in the last book, I also included a sextortion theme. I'm not sure if you or your listeners are aware of what sextortion is. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Okay. So I can be happy to explain, but it is when a grown-up convinces a young person to send sexualized pictures of themselves because they think they're conversating with another young person. And then they blackmail them. So we have...
I know what it is, now I know what the title is.
Right. It's called Sextortion, and we have some wonderful people here. A young lady by the name of Tamia and her husband, Timothy Woods. I had the occasion to meet them. They lost their only child to this because the young man basically didn't have $300. They told him they wanted $300. He only had $100. And then they sent him 200 messages, these adults, telling him he should just kill himself.
Wow. And he committed suicide?
Yes, he did. and and we've had several young people this happened to. They sent a few pictures to people in his contacts and things. And right now, I just want your listeners to know, I want, if you know, the nation to help us with this. These young people, the parents, so they're just awesome people. They've taken their pain and they've turned it into purpose. And there is something called the James T. Woods Act. And it just made it through a really important Senate hearing, so that there's going to be a vote. We want it to basically pass, and it'll be legislation, because right now there's not enough legislation or any. Prosecutors have to piece together the law as opposed to it being one law, so that we can prosecute these people. But I did this as a theme in my novel because until I met these people, Timothy and Tamia, I never even heard about this. And it's happening all across our country.
Definitely.
And we need to make sure that that we're monitoring what our young people are doing. But what we need to do more importantly is to basically talk with our children and reassure them that is nothing that they can do that they can't come to us for help for. And it's, now recently, because we've been educating people, there have been young people who've come forward and say, these people are telling me to do 1, 2, and 3. They're trying to blackmail me. And I remember being here and being at a conference and hearing a story about a judge's granddaughter who was blackmailed. Wow. to be a human trafficking victim because they got compromising pictures. Of her. Right. What sometimes they would do is have the young person meet. You're talking to a young man, you come meet me for lunch, and you get there and it really is this attractive young man. Mm-hmm. And then you wake up in a hotel room because they drugged you.
Yep.
And then they've taken all these compromising pictures.
And you had no idea it happened because you got drugged.
That's right. And then they say, if you don't meet this person, do this, do that, we're going to release these pictures to everybody. Your life is ruined. We need to know about this as parents. We need to be able to educate our children. And we also need to be able to prosecute those individuals who do that. Absolutely. And that's why the James T. Woods Act, I'm urging people, get in touch with your legislators, your federal legislators, your congresspeople. Let them know we want this to be a law. And also continue to talk with your kids, talk to the young people in your life.
And educate them on everything that's going on and what can happen.
Absolutely. And if they do make a mistake and they do send some pictures, we need them to know that we're going to still be here. We're going to love you. We're going to help you. Nobody's going to do anything to you. And we're going to comfort those people. Like, our kids are afraid sometimes.
Yeah, they are. They're afraid because, one, they either think that we're going to be mad at them or that we're going to be disappointed. And, they don't want to talk about certain things. So absolutely, you have to, keep reassuring your kids that, it's an open door policy.
Absolutely.
And if I'm going to get mad or not, we still need to know.
Right. And if I get mad, I ain't going to stay mad.
Right.
And really, everybody going to get mad. I'm human. I might get mad. But you know what? At the end of the day, if somebody do something to you, I got you. We're not going to allow them to hurt you. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3. And our kids need to know that. Absolutely. And so as parents, they keep on coming up with new ways to try to get our children.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's up to us to know what's happening so that we can educate and be, aware and be ready to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to be ready to attack and be prepared with all shields, swords, and everything above to be ready.
That's right. Absolutely.
So through this journey, what's next?
I am going to write my newest novel. I'm pretty certain I am going to center it around divorce.
Okay.
Because I've been working in divorce court. And just so for your listeners, I am the magistrate for the Honorable Tanya R. Jones, who is the first African-American judge in the history of our court, which is Cuyahoga County Domestic Relations Court. And she's awesome. And we're doing awesome work. We started a mental health program in our court. called Families First. But what I really want to underscore is, again, like we talked about earlier, people sometimes change. Maybe you're not who you used to be, and you're no longer compatible with the person you used to be with or who you had your children with. But how we act as parents is everything. If you hate this person so much, you're harming your children.
Correct.
Basically, you're telling your kids they shouldn't be here. You hate that father, so you hate them. What you have to understand, that's how kids feel. At the end of the day, even if you're no longer with that person, like I got an ex and I got a kid by my ex, but he's still always going to be my family. It's just it. I love my son so much, I can't help but see him when I see my son. He is so awesome. Okay. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're hurting our kids. Our kids are having mental health issues. Our kids are, really having problems because of the way people are conducting themselves.
Correct. So someone out there that could be listening now, a leader, what advice would you have for them to, one, dealing with mental health or just going through life journeys? Because we talked about several topics in here.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
I said, what advice would you have for someone that's dealing with mental health and haven't sought help yet?
If you are looking for help, you can always text 988. That will connect you to a mental health professional in your community. If you're having a crisis too, you can always reach out. It's the crisis text line. And I just want to ensure people or encourage people and let them know that going to get treatment or get therapy or get help is not a failure. It's a strength. For you to be your very best, we have to always think about our mental health and know that if your mental health is not together, your physical health is going to be compromised too. If you're stressed out so much, you're going to start having issues with your blood pressure and other kind of problems that put you at risk. So it is important that we remember that it is a part of wellness and that, we need to, again, have those outlets. And also, let your mind rest. Read a book. Read my book. So that'd be something you could do. But I think that those are some of the advice that I have, is that I want to encourage people to, and not to be judgmental. Not to be judgmental. If you have a family or friend that is needing help them. Don't be like, girl, you mean you got that problem? You can just go to church, girl, go pray. God will help you. All of that. God put us here, the professionals, the people who went to school for this, for a reason.
Right.
So those are my words.
I thank you very much for them. Before we wrap this up, please tell them how to find your book, how to connect with you, and where can they reach out to work with you.
Absolutely. And for all the people who have book clubs, I would love to be at your book club. I would love to appear by Zoom. So invite me and I'll come. I'll try to make it happen. You can find me by visiting my website at www.novelistjjwinston.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Novelist JJ Winston. So as everything is Novelist JJ Winston. And I'm looking forward to connecting with all of your guests. And I hope people will support me by purchasing my novels and letting me come to your book club. And I also just want to say in closing, my first novel, The Anniversary, is also available on Audibles. And I think some people, depending on their prescription or subscription, like to Prime, I think they can get my first book free on Audibles if they're with Prime and they have that special whatever.
I think it's that Prime Video or yes. Prime. I know what you're talking about.
Yes. And it's been a pleasure and it's been an honor to be your guest. Thank you for having me.
It is, listen, JJ Winston, it's been an honor, and I can't wait for your other novels to come out because we're going to have you back sharing and telling us and giving us all the tea.
I can't wait. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hashtag go buy the book. As always, y'all know I am one that likes to support. I like y'all to support too. So, as always, this have been your girl, Dr. Sheena Godine, better known as the lady behind the mask. You can find me on Facebook as Dr. Sheena Godine. You can find me on Instagram as Lady Behind the Mask 22. As always, you know we are here to educate, motivate, and inspire. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. Not anymore. My toxicness will stop me from loving myself or trusting others in my peaceful place. Not anymore. My lack of post-trauma is going to stop me from my future growth. Yes, not anymore. I know I'm powerful. I know I'm overcoming. I know I'm a positive. I know I'm loved. And yes, not anymore. I'm dope. Dedicated to other people and empowerment. I love my dopeness, and so should you.